Hey, hey, Harry here from SMB Nation. And before we get going with our Around the Horn this month, I want to, for some of you who are watching, will remember what this meant. And this was the SMB Partner Community Magazine we did for 6 years, from probably '06, maybe '05 to 11 or 12. Back when magazines made sense, back when we were supporting the Microsoft Small Business Specialist community. And the reason I bring that up is I just had a reach out yesterday from someone over in green technology. So kind of, trying to cut consumption of power and all that. Did an article on him, and he said, hey, can you find that magazine? Can you scan that magazine article from yesteryear? So I'm going to take that upon myself. But little flash to the past there, Marc. We're with Marc Haskleson from the Compliancy Group. And Marc, sir, you've done many endeavors. We were kind of resemble each other a little bit in different business models and things over the year. But looking forward this month, I want to talk about you're starting to really drive home the point of business solution provider, BSP. So take it away. What are we talking about?
All right, so well, I think it's a combination of a couple of things. First of all, I do believe the nature of how technology is being consumed is changing the way people buy, right? Yeah. And because of that, there's a fantastic opportunity for specifically MSP to leverage that and better serve, far more importantly, what is the small and mid-sized community, okay? Yep. Because yes, the big enterprise guys may still be buying iron, okay, but the average small business is buying a series of SaaS tools that they're grappling with. What are the right tools? How do I use those tools most effectively? How do I integrate those tools most effectively? How do I protect my data? How do I protect my clients? How do I protect my revenue? All of these things now are becoming the average small business owner. That's what they're talking about, right? And that I do think that the intersection point in between what is the traditional MSP community and the growth of the SMB community is that the MSPs have an opportunity to become not just this, hey, I'll make sure that your virus, your antivirus is working correctly, but that I'm going to help you understand how to configure your organization from a business perspective, of which there's going to be a combination of tool sets I'm going to put on the table for you, right? Yep. Obviously, security and technical is very prominent. But many of these MSPs, they don't understand the different, okay, I need to bill. Should I be using QuickBooks? Or is there a CRM that I should be using that does my billing for me? There's lots of different questions that they're grappling with that I think the MSP is really an MSP that evolves into the BSP is in the best position to address.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, let me see if I can add value here. I recently covered the SharePoint Fest in Seattle, and they had a Microsoft speaker talk about basically changing your company culture using Microsoft Teams. Now that speech is not a surprise because they are promoting Teams, and Teams is like this octopus with all these arms now. But the point was a couple of little things. They talked about Microsoft itself transforming with the retirement of Ballmer and Satya coming in and changing meetings and going on video and that kind of thing. Are you suggesting a BSP? I mean, I understand the business processes and sort of our reason for being, but then are you also comfortable having them step it up to the next level with cultural change and that kind of thing, or is that a bridge too far?
Well, it's interesting. I think it depends on a couple of factors, right? Yeah. I think not all organizations are equipped to make that move, right? Yeah. That may not be profitable for them, right? But for in the market, if you take a look at, you see the HR software firms coming into the space where what they're doing is, they're giving an MSP the opportunity to say, not only can I help you with the traditional things you'd expect, but by bringing in, let's say, an Insperity, right, where they're going to provide what is full HR outsourcing, which gets directly involved with code of conducts and cultural change. I don't know if it's their number one spot, right? But for example, we've been called in, and if you take Microsoft specifically, Many of the big traditional vendors are recognizing that the growth in the US economy is in the small and mid-sized sector, and that they're changing the way they do business with that. So that cultural change is starting, let's say, at a Microsoft. But for example, we've been involved directly with Microsoft and their small business development teams to help them find better ways to explain how the new M365 addresses their needs. So your point, they've recognized that culturally their shift is coming down into the SMB space.
Yeah, and I would almost think at some point there's going to be a little bit of overlap with compliancy and HR, because you have HR laws and rules and privacy and God forbid your salary gets out in the wild, or some of your personal information. Maybe you have a medical situation and you're using the company's insurance. So there's definitely overlap. But yeah, I'd like to see it. Now, did you recently attended and spoke at the CompTIA ChannelCon show? Did you have some of these same conversations either up on stage or at your booth or on the floor about the return to being a trusted business advisor, now BSP?
Yeah, the trusted business advisor is one of those terms that people kind of, I don't know, they poke at it, if you want to call it. But to take your 2 points and bring them together, because I think they are very interrelated. So at ChannelCon, a big part of, for example, my role as the chair for the Business Application Advisory Council is understanding and exploring with the community, both the vendor community and the MSP community, where those things intersect. Okay, so you mentioned compliance, and you used an interesting example, specifically talking about healthcare, but more broadly, you can make an organization technically secure. But if you look at the data coming out of CompTIA, and this was a big part of that session, the majority, in this case, it's 76% of the breaches that occur were caused by human error. And the argument is, if you address think about it, just the definition of the word compliance is getting people to follow the rules, right? And that that this intersection point of we need to make the technology secure, and we need to change the culture and the way people follow the rules differently than we did in the past. The risk is just different. The risk profile is just different. So a big part of what we were talking about at ChannelCon was how that opportunity, whether it's artificial intelligence, business intelligence tools, and I realize some of those terms are kind of big for the SMB sector, right? Yeah. But they're not that far away. Right, they are. You're beginning to see, how come your fridge can tell you what the fridge that has the fancy display that tells you when you're out of milk. It's because it's an AI application combined with Internet of Things, and now all of a sudden you have something that is now in a consumer item in someone's home, right? Yeah. I think that all of those things are coming together, and by the way, I really do think for the community, it's a fantastic opportunity. It's not a threat. It's just we do continue to see some of the folks either reluctant to get involved with it, which, listen, it's your business, do what you want. But I look at, or let's say as a guy who's done a bunch of startups, I look at it constantly saying, where is the biggest ROI I can get that is the closest to what is in my field of, let's say, of what I can actually deliver. And the way I explain it is, hey, this is what someone said they wanted. Okay, this is what they really needed, and this is what we have, right? And I think the BSP, or the concept that we're trying to tell folks is, be cognizant that what you have could be much more than what you expected, but it definitely addresses their needs. And as long as you are thinking that way, there's great opportunity for it.
Yeah, I'll kind of end on that. To me, it comes down to relevancy in two ways. One is we're an aging demographic, and so arguably a couple of us are losing.
I got a lot of gray hair, and it's, I know what you mean.
Well, that's what I put a hat on, but losing half a step technically, and often by choice, right? That downloading drivers at 2 a.m. isn't as fun anymore. Yeah. But here's the relevancy point, is that kind of starting to view yourself more as a management consultant is, that's a profession, that's probably the world's second oldest profession. And if you're relevant and providing value, you know, business speak will be here today, tomorrow, and so on. Product stacks come and go. So I'll tell you what, why don't we end on that, guys? It's about relevancy, and I like the way you're promoting the term BSP. I hope you've applied for a service mark on that so you can benefit from that usage. And
we'll try.
all right, well, Mark, appreciate you hanging in there with us. We'll come around the horn next month and chat it up again. Thank you very much.
All right, look forward to it, Harry. Have a great day. And to all the folks at the SMB Nation, glad to talk with you.
All righty. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.